At everyone, the Shadow of the Hawk, and welcome to my first ever Shadoo book review. Today I'm going to be reviewing a book many of you probably have never heard of called Court of the Blind King. Now it's not a big read, it's about 300 pages, maybe a little bit less. The font that's bright. Not that big, not too many words, but this was my first Warhammer fantasy book. It's Age of Sigmar, it's a fantasy setting. I lost like a dozen subs for calling this fantasy, for reasons I'll get into in a minute. But this isn't just one of my favorite Warhammer novels. This is one of my favorite novels, period. And I'll get into why that is. But for those of you who are new here, hi, hello, how are you doing? I'm the Shadow of the Hawk. I'm what you see is what you get. And if you are new here, stick around, pull up a chair, take a seat, and let's have a conversation about this great book. And if you don't like what you see, consider hitting the dislike button, consider hitting that subscription button and that notification bell, so that if you really, really hate my content, you can constantly remind me about how much you hate my content. And if you like my content, all I ask is that you hop in the comments down below and just join the conversation. Talk about what you think about this book. Talk about your favorite books or Warhammer content. I don't discriminate. So, to get a little brief summary of this book, I first need to explain what Warhammer Age of Sigmar is. See, in the early 2000s, so actually I got to go further back. In about the 1980s, I think, this little company called Games Workshop decided they want to make their own miniature fantasy war game setting. And so they just took Lord of the Rings, tossed it in a blender full of edgy stuff, and then pulled it out, and then boom, they made Warhammer Fantasy Battles. After that, they got sued into the ground by the Tolkien estate, and they tossed it back in the blender, tossed in some legally distinct content, pulled it back out, and you had Warhammer Fantasy Battles legally distinct from Lord of the Rings. And they added to it, took some stuff away, added to it, took some stuff away, until about the early 2000s, in which, for reasons I don't fully understand, the sales for Warhammer Fantasy Battles didn't really do very well. So they took Warhammer Fantasy Battles, tossed it back in the blender, poured some gasoline, tossed in some nitroglycerin, threw in a lit match, closed the blender, turned it on, and completely and absolutely destroyed the set. That's not me going... I mean, that's kind of what happened with the End Times lore, but that's not me, like, going, oh, it was bad. Well, I mean, it was bad. But they literally, like, blew up the setting. The end spoilers of Warhammer Fantasy is that the world literally explodes in the end because someone did something worse than Erebus from 40K. But not all was lost, because GW still wanted a fantasy setting that they could leech money off of. So they came up with some bullshit reasons to bring this setting, Age of Sigmar, into existence. Effectively, the remnants of the world that was, or the Warhammer Fantasy world, began to collect around spheres of magic, and they coalesced until they formed the 9 realms, I want to say, is what it is. There's representation for each of the winds of magic plus a realm for chaos. So I think it's 9. I think it's 9 realms. And then various bits of life began to take root on these 9 realms. Mostly humans, because humans are a fucking infestation. And then a variety of individuals from the previous world showed up, like Sigmar, the god king of mankind, Teclis and Tyrion, the 2 twin brothers who ruled Ulthuan until it blew up. Malarian, which is just Malekith, but mixed with his dragon, from my understanding. Marathi, a fucking whore. Gorka Morka, which is just Gork and Mork shoved into the same box. Nagash, a literal a necrophile, kind of. I don't know. He's complicated. But the elves were not really anywhere, because they hadn't been destroyed. They had been consumed by this evil pervert entity known as Slaanesh. And so the different elven gods, as they were now, being Tyrion, Teclis, Marathi, Malarian, gathered together, bonked Slaanesh on the back of the head, dragged it into a dark room where they tied it up and began to basically pump its stomach until they got the elven souls out. The first set of elven souls pulled out were given to Teclis, and Teclis took those souls and he made the Sithai, I believe. Yeah, the Sithai, which were the precursors to the Idenith. And upon creating their race, he was disgusted by them. And so he was going to kill them until his brother, Tyrion, said, Teclis, don't kill them. Let them go. And they let go. And in order to hide from the wrath of not only their god, but also from the ruinous powers, as an elven soul is worth a lot more than a human or an orc or a dwarven soul is, they fled to the bottom of the oceans, where they could hide beneath the waves, and then created various enclaves. But they noticed that the scarring from being within the bowels of a literal pervert god had warped them, shifted them, changed them. Only one in, I believe, every 999 of their children were born with a soul. The others, husks, eyeless husks. And so they began to experiment to try to find ways to bring their children to life. And then they thought, well, if they don't have a soul, why don't we get a new soul? And they experimented on different things, on fish, on sharks, on fangmoras. None of those really worked. Then they thought, well, what if souls have a value? And so I imagine the first Ideneth to do this crept up on an unsuspecting human village and stole a sleeping child in the night. And then ripped out its soul, put it into a young Namarti, as they would become known as, the soulless, and it breathed. And they realized what they had to do to continue their race. Namely, go up on the coastline, kill every living thing that had a pair of brain cells, harvest their souls, and take that back into the deep, where they would be given to effectively stillborn children to give them the ability to exist. This is the core of Ideneth society, a warrior culture built on raiding, not for personal wealth, but for the very survival of not just your family, but your entire species. That is the kind of world where you will find Lurien in, with the added effect of, at least in the Green Gulch, I've been told it's very different for other Ideneth enclaves, but in the Green Gulch, there is a distinct caste system with the trueborn souls on the very top, because these are inherently more powerful and more capable than the lower class, being the Namarti. And then kind of in between, and then the Namarti classes themselves are built up depending on what kind of soul you were given at birth. So if you were given, say, like an elfin or a seraphim being star lizard people, that's another discussion, you are higher than an Namarti that is given a human or an Orc, or the legally distinct way to say orc in this setting, Orc soul. Lurien was born. It's not, his actual parentage is not really described, because, you know, it's a gamble on whether or not your child has a true soul. So instead of most true souls are born to Namarti parents, or excuse me, most Akellans, because that is their class. The Akellans are born to Namarti parents, but they are then adopted by the royal family, by an Akellan family, and added into their clan. Lurien was adopted by Lagathi, the queen of Bryumdar. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. Fuck you if it's said otherwise. And he was raised to be a prince. So he's going to be the vain, haughty, stuck-up, selfish bastard that you could imagine him being. But worse, because he's from a raiding slaughter empire. So he has a very dim view of anything that is not Ideneth, and he already has a very dim view of most other Ideneths. Even other Akellans to him are beneath him, because he's the prince to be king of Bryumdar. Now, before I continue with the story, I'm going to put up a spoiler warning. This sounds very interesting to you, pick up this book. It's like, I think it's like $16 stateside. If you're not stateside, fuck you. You don't matter. I'm kidding. It's $9 UK, 12 and a half. It's £9 UK, 12.50 euros, $17 Canadian, and $20 Aussie, because fuck Aussie land. And then if you're in China, I got no clue what the price is, but I'm assuming it's not going to be in yen. So, with that spoiler warning out of the way, if you want to go get the book, you'll get the book. Okay. So Lurien, the story opens up with Lurien being in his court, where he is about to be king, and he is pissing on his mother's grave. Not literally, because he never liked her. He always thought of her as a bitch. And so he's just sitting there, and you meet the various casts of characters, and you get various bits of world building, and you see a major contrast between Lurien and various peers, where you have other people who have gone on raids, who have engaged in violence, and they are treated very differently than Lurien is. You have another individual, which is basically Lurien, but not a prince. His name's Eodrin, and he's a very important character. I'll get into him later, who is also kind of a dick. And Lurien kind of looks down on him, but at the same time, that is literally who Lurien is. And you get introduced to these different kings, like kings and queens, like Queen Anar. You get introduced to the Laughing King of Gwynnor. I think it's Gwynnor. I think. Fuck, I am professional, I swear. I'm pretty sure it's the Laughing King of Gwynnor. Dwyhor, not Gwynnor, Dwyhor. So the Laughing King of Dwyhor, and then I'm blanking on the other guy's name, Gurnan. I'm going to just call him Gurnan. King Gurnan, and then a bunch of other characters. And so he's sitting there, he's chilling, and then we are introduced to the villain of the story. Vanglir the Felglaive, the greatest warrior, at least the acknowledged greatest warrior the Green Gulch has seen in generations. Which, for Idoneth, even though they have a short-lived life compared to other kinds of elves, that's a very long time. Lagathi ruled for, I believe, 120 years. That was ruled. No doubt that she had about 100 years on her belt before she ascended to the throne. So they have very long lives, and Vanglir is distinctly noted as one of the greatest warriors in generations. So this guy knows his shit, and he immediately challenges Lurien for the throne. Lurien, being a stuck-up little shit, picks a fight. It goes about as well for him as you would expect. He wakes up in a cage, realizing that he's a dumb little kid who fucked up and found out, and he is content to wallow in the darkness, begging for someone to save him. Why is someone answering his prayers? So this is where we get introduced to Nemariel. I need to double Nemariel. And I'm going to call her Lady Macbeth for reasons you will soon see. She is Lady Macbeth. She is a vindictive, manipulative bitch. And she takes Lurien's... so, first, she is a Namarti. She's not an Akellan. She is a Namarti. She is a low-class Namarti. She's a lower class. It's also subtly hinted at that she's a Chaos Cultist. At least in my opinion, she's a Chaos Cultist. For reasons you will probably find out throughout the story. And so... she uses magic, which is part of why I think she's a fucking Chaos Cultist, because Namarti shouldn't be able to do that, to bind a promise between her and Lurien, namely a marriage contract. Her goal is to put Lurien on the throne, because if he's put on the throne and he is married to her, she will be queen. It does not fucking matter that she's an Namarti. She will be married to the most powerful man in Braemdar. Not only that, though, she is going to, throughout the story, take various steps to make him the most powerful elf in the Green Gulch. And so they escape, and we are introduced to two other characters, Uriel and Moragai. Uriel being this big, buff badass that you could mistake for a smith. He's actually a chef, a really good chef, who's able to rip apart kraken hides and get to the good old meat on the inside. Moragai, meanwhile, is this teeny tiny doll-like Idoneth girl who is scary with a knife, doesn't really talk, and is... people are already buying this book. She's not a major character. She's more of a plot device. Don't be weird. Don't be weird. This isn't Rebecca from Edge Runners. Don't be weird. Anyway, so the plan is revealed fully to Lurien, and you get a little bit more world building, a little bit more power scaling, that sort of thing. And as they're planning to leave Braemdar, their his escape is fully noted by Eodre, the guy I mentioned earlier, the Akellan warrior that was part of Lurien's entourage. He was one of his retainers, excuse me. And he immediately recognized, oh shit, this is Lurien. This is Lurien. I found the prince! And he proceeds to get punched in the face, thrown over a Fangmora eel, and dragged off with the party. That's not exactly how it went down, but that's effectively how it went down. 2 innocent people were murdered by Nemariel because she's a bitch, and someone's business was destroyed. Yeah, no, again, she's Lady Macbeth. She doesn't care who gets hurt in her wake. Neither does Lurien to an extent. We'll get into that. So they travel to the site of Lurien, to the enclave ruled by Lurien's aunt, Lathe. Lathe. This isn't me forgetting. This is me not remembering how to pronounce it off the top of my head. Or do I just need to call her? No, there it is. Hold on. Laramie. I'm an idiot. I apologize. Queen Laramie. And so he goes to this enclave where he encounters a guy by the name of Nail, his cousin by adoption, blood, etc. Nail. And the two do not like each other in the beginning. They fucking hate each other because Lurien does not like Nail because Nail is a stuck-up bastard. Nail does not like Lurien because he's a stuck-up bastard. And Laramie informs Lurien that, yeah, I knew it was going to go down. I didn't really do anything to stop it because I couldn't really do anything to stop it. But because you are my nephew, because you are my beloved sister's son, if you can prove to me that you aren't a complete little bitch, I will back you. Elgain, my enclave, will back you. And so Lurien, after being coaxed by Nemariel, goes on a raid under the command of Nail, where they attack some orcs and some ogres and some yetis, and it doesn't go very well. They lose a couple of elite warriors to get a spattering of souls that would probably buy someone a loaf of bread. Because people are starting to realize that there's something wrong with the oceans and getting away from them. So the only things that are still around are things that are strong enough to resist Idoneth raids or stupid enough to not really be worth fighting and getting the souls of. Save for one place. Kryza, a den of a servant of Nurgle. Nurgle being the setting's plague god, and not a fun time. Not a fun time at all. So Lurien has this idea. After proving himself not complete bitch-worthy on the field of battle, Nail listens to him. They're going to raid Kryza, and it goes swimmingly. It goes perfectly. Like, hold on, here we go. Like, this is how anyone would describe the raid.
Impressive. Very nice.
They get 300 souls for no deaths. Granted, they're human souls, but 300 souls. That is 300 Namarti that will be born for nothing, basically. They're pulling back, they're evacing, and Nail's missing. Where did Nail go? Oh, also, Lurien decided to throw a little bit of a cherry on top and use their shark companion thing to break up the boats. Because if the Nurgles don't have boats, they can't fuck around in the ocean, which the Idoneth really don't want them fucking around in the ocean. Where's Nail? Gotta go find Nail. Oh shit, Nail's dead. And that is when Lurien gets his first taste of true chaos. He meets the Grand Duchess of Kryza, a Gargant, which for those who don't know, they are legally distinct giants. And just the mere presence of her is enough to nearly break his mind, because she's so infected and so overcome by Nurgle's rot that she's just a force of nature for him. He is like, everyone in the war party just kind of like breaks, and they escape by the skin of their flippin' teeth to Dwyhor. The 300 souls are sent back to Elgain, as well as proof of Nail's untimely death in the raid, which means that his soul is eternally damned in the Garden of Nurgle. That's fun. But Laramie will uphold her end of the bargain. She will back Lurien. Also, he's kind of proven that he's got balls and he's willing to do stupid shit and will survive doing stupid shit, so you probably want to back him. Hold on, isn't Morgai good with knives? Anyway, doesn't matter. Nemariel said it wasn't Morgai. So he goes to Dwyhor where he meets the Laughing King. And the Laughing King tells him, after threatening him with a bunch of half-naked dancers, that I'll help you. I will be your most bestest of friend if you do me one small favor. That small favor is a fetch quest. Retrieve the Laughing King's lost spear. From the Sylvaneth. What are Sylvaneth? They are nature spirits. Really, really angry nature spirits. Nature spirits that like killing people because they're not trees. Before this, though, you get a little bit of time with Lurien sitting around with Morgai kind of going, did you kill him? Did you kill him? I know you killed him. Morgai. Why'd you kill him? Talking with Uriel and just being friends with Uriel. talking to Adrian and just like, kind of chilling out with Adrian a little bit. Anyway, so they decide to go up into the den of the Sylvaneth to engage in the treaty, where they meet a woman or a dryad by the name of Swordfern. And on the way, they are attacked by some plague-infected beastmen. Beastmen being like warped humans and animals into bovine or goat-like appearances. Basically, if you've ever seen like some old paintings of like what the devil would look like when he would be consummating his marriage with a witch, that's kind of what beastmen look like. And Lurien does something a little bit out of character for the Idoneth. Namely, he helps out the Sylvaneth at the risk of his own life. He explains it, though, in a very good way. They may need the Sylvaneth as allies one day. And this is where you're already starting to see that Lurien he's not just thinking about his immediate... He's more ambitious than Nemariel. Because every move that Nemariel makes is all about trying to get him on the throne of Bryumdar and nothing else. Lurien is playing the long game. Going for Karaza is establishing a reputation for himself, but also giving him a reputation of being a warrior and weakening the threat of Karaza. Helping the Sylvaneth is proving himself to be a capable warrior and also enamoring them to him, possibly allowing an alliance to occur between the forests and the sea. And then various other things he will do throughout the book reinforces this idea that he's playing this bigger long game. And then they get to, then they encounter the spear that they were looking for. And Lurien says, fuck the deal, I want that. So the rest of the party lure all the tree spirits away to the beach to negotiate, while he and Auriel break into where the spear is. They kill a few people. Sorry, they're trees. They kill a few trees to get the spear. Auriel is brutally and horrifically ripped to pieces. Fortunately, though, he wasn't in the den of Nurgle, so his soul is fine. He just ceased to exist. Just out like a gaslight, as opposed to endless suffering at the hands of a plague demon. Not a fetish demon, a plague demon. Swordfern, knowing that Lurien may be useful, decides, I'm going to let you live. I'm going to let you go. Here, let me help you back to the scene. Lurien, with the spear, receives the aid of Dwyhor, which the Laughing King is like, look, man, you can keep the spear. I just wanted it back in the water. Like, dude, I don't got many years left. You're kind of fucking cool. I don't have a son. You're kind of cool. I'm not going to outright say it, but you're my heir, kid. Have fun. And so he goes to the next place. I like names. I swear I'm a professional. I swear I'm a damnable professional. Guthan. He goes to Guthan, the court of King Galahar. Okay, you cannot freaking blame me on not remembering this. Galorhir. Galrohir. Gulrohir. Where he goes to Gulrohir. And Gulrohir is like, dude, you're actually kind of based. You're kind of cool. Look, man, I like the cut of your jib. I think you would be really, really cool. I don't really have a solid heir in mind. I've got a bunch of daughters. Like I've got a bunch of daughters. I got a bunch of sons, but none of them are. They're all undesirables. Let's go with those words. They are undesirables, to say the least. I'm looking for a name. And so he is offered marriage. He's offered marriage to a quote, divine-looking elf. See, all elves are beautiful. All elves are enchanting. The woman the she-elf he marries, Gwyndire. Gwyndire is divine by the standards of an elf. So in other words, you look at her. So in other words, for straight men, if you were to look at Gwyndire, what's between your legs would pop like a frag grenade with the amount of blood rushing there. That's a little crass. I apologize. But so he's offered that marriage. Nemariel, listen, look, he's married. He's already betrothed. Oh, he is? Oh, well, we'll just need to annul that. Nemariel, fucking livid. Lurien. He's good. He's looking up aces, everything's great. And so he marries Gwyndire, and he goes to the marriage bed. Everything is going great. Aedrain is discussing retirement with him. Like, listen, man, I can go to Dwyhor and just live out the rest of my life chilling. It's going to be great. He goes in, and he's about to do the deed with Gwyndire. Someone blows the door open. Aedrain is a carcass now. 3 knights from Elgain, servants of his aunt, Laramie, are coming to kill him. He uses the spear. He's not very good with the spear. His wife saves his ass, which is based. I mean, a woman that can kill you, that's extra points. We're looking at someone who's now a 17 out of 10 in regards to attractiveness. And, Nemariel told Laramie about how that, hey, listen, Moragai killed your son so that Lurien could be king of your city. Yeah. And so now, having officially backed him, Dwyhor and Gurthan are stuck working with him. That leaves Queen Inair, because Vanglir is rallying Bryamdar to kill him, and Laramie has taken Elgain, and they're on their way to go fuck up Lurien's coalition. The only wild card left is the bitch queen Einar of, I swear to fuck, Turak. I didn't even get to the page. Turak, the queen of Turak. And she's like, it's not my fight. Why do I care? It's not my problem. Then she notices something in the way Lurien's eyes are, the way he speaks. He's changed since his journey. There's potential there. There is potential. There's something that could be used. And, he is marrying an Amardi. Those things, they don't die as quick as they die quicker than humans. They get 40 to 50 years. That's a tool. That's I could use that. I could use him. Okay, tell you what. You know what I'm going to do? Listen, Lurien, if you can bring me a very cool beastie from the depths, I will back you. And so he does. He goes into the deep with his Fangmore Venom with Nemariel, because he trusts her again for some reason, that fucking cultist, and a trainer of Lurok, a beast trainer of Lurok, and they go into the deep. They go so deep that the water turns to magic. And they find a name that I'm not even going to try to remember or pronounce, but translates to, in English, Black Dragon. It is a big fuck off, like, shark squid monster thing that can harden its flesh to repel attacks and is able to sense threats from miles out. This thing is brutal. This thing is lethal, and it can bite a Fangmora, which is 13 feet in length, in half. So Lurien obviously, manages to stall it long enough for it to get its knees broken and tossed in a Pokeball. That's effectively... Mine is getting sucked into the Pokeball. That's basically what happened. I wish I was making this shit up. The big scary monster, the Black Dragon, this thing that is killed thousands of people that have tried to tame it, literally just got its legs broken and just decided, yeah, I'm going to work for you now. And so Lurien, with his coalition of Dwyhor, Guthrin, and Turak, they stand ready. And they hold the damn line, and they break the armies of Bryamdar. The legions of Namarti of Gurthan, the dancers of Dwyhor, and the beast masters of Turak sunder the armies of Bryamdar. I forgot to mention that Laramie is capable of making thermonuclear weapons at the bottom of the ocean because bullshit. And so she just single-handedly just blows up the majority of Lurien's army. So he has to go in and deal with this shit himself, where he realizes, oh shit, my spear can shoot lasers. Holy shit, my spears can shoot lasers. And he shoots lasers. And then he fights Vanglir in a one-on-one duel. The spear is an auto-win weapon, basically. It just helps Lurien fight this guy better. And then they realize Laramie stole a chunk of this soul coral thing that they store dead Idoneth souls in, because if left to go to the afterlife, there is no afterlife for the Idoneth. They'll just get ripped apart by demons. So they store them in these little soul coral things. She took a chunk of it and was using it to feed her ritual. She was permadeathing thousands of Idoneth to get her revenge. Then Vanglir turns and looks at her and is like, Lurien, I loved your mother. I loved her. I looked at you as a son. Together. Together we can stop her, Lurien. Together we can beat her. And you will be my heir, and I will be your father, and when I pass on, you will carry my name and... Poof! Stabbed through the heart in the back by Lurien. Grateful. And Vangler sinks to the bottom of the ground, his soul sucked into the Soul Taker spear, the spear that Lurien got from the Sylvan Knight. And he goes and talks to Laramie, and Larame's like, bitch, you murdered my son. What's his name? Lurien. No, it was Nemariel. It was her. She gave the order. Nemariel. What? No, it wasn't me. Sorry, what the fuck are you doing? Tell her it was her, or I'm casting you into the abyss, and you will suffer horrifically. Okay, fine. It was me. I did it because he was a cuck. He didn't have a big enough dick to kill your son. Laramie kills Nemariel on the spot. Like, what did you think was going to happen here? Okay. Kills Nemariel on the spot, and everyone kind of takes a second to sit down and chill and realize, ooh, that was bloody. We've got a lot of bodies sink into the bottom of the depths, and a lot of those souls were not recovered. We can't reuse those. That's, yeah. Well, Lurien killed Vangler. This whole war started because Lurien wanted to be king. Let's call Lurien the winner. What do you mean the king of Guthrum? Okay, Lurien is now king of 2 cities and the heir of, like, 2 others. Lurien wins. Lurien wins. At the end of the book, Lurien is just lounging down, chilling, leaning back. His wife is going to go back to Guthrum to help manage things there. And he goes, no, I need you. I need you. Because think about it, you know, the coastlines on the surface, they're being ravaged. There's about to be a new war up there. And there are other oceans. And he stands up, and he stands before the map, and he turns to his queen. And the book ends with him going, how would you like to be a high queen? Now, why is this my favorite novel? That sounds like a very basic story to a lot of people, I imagine. Well, the reason this is my favorite, this is the reason why this is one of my favorite novels of all time, is because Lurien grows as a character, but he stays the same character. Let me explain. See, Lurien at the beginning of the book is a selfish, backstabbing, vindictive bastard who doesn't understand the value of elven life. He doesn't care about human life. It's elven life he doesn't care about. He doesn't really give a shit about. Throughout the book, he grows as a leader. He grows as a fighter, a tactician, a politician, a warrior. He grows to care about people like Eadrin, whose death actually hurts him as he realizes that man was a friend. He mourns the likes of Uriel and Nal. Nal as like a brother, and Uriel as like a pet, I guess. Like he makes it very distinct that Eadrin's death affected him more. I can understand it like Nal, because like he only really knew Nal for a couple of days. Uriel, he would have known for months. My interpretation is that he still views Uriel as a lesser, as this like pet, basically, because he still stabs Vangler in the back. He still kills him despite finally understanding the reason why Vangler did it. It's because he knew he was a pretentious little shit and didn't want him destroying Browndar. So he locked him in the cage, hoping that a few years would teach him to not be a little bitch, where then he could ascend to the throne upon Vangler's death, because Vangler was also a fairly old elf. But Lurien didn't want that. Lurien is still the same ambitious jackass. The big thing, though, is the scope. See, at the beginning of the series, he was like Nemariel. All he wanted was the throne. All he wanted was to sit in the chair of Brandar, because it was his, because it was his birthright, because he felt he deserved it. Just like Nemariel thought that she deserved the throne. But the distinction between those two is when shown the breadth of the world and what work and scheming and violence can give you, being the entirety of the Green Gulch in the palm of your damnable hand. Yeah. Lurien wants it. But he doesn't just want the Green Gulch. He wants more. The reason why that is such a fascinating concept to me is because normally in these kinds of like exiled prince stories, in regards to modern Western morality, they become a better person by the end of it. In my personal view, Lurien becomes a worse person by the end of it. Sure, he understands empathy. He understands empathy. He grows to care about people in a way that he didn't before. But now he is willing to wage wars, to conquer, to enslave. And not just in like the same way that the Idoneth have always done. He wants to go in after being in the middle of a war, a brutal war. He wants to go and do that again and again and again and again because he has tasted power and he wants it. That is why he is such a fascinating character to me, because we don't get these kinds of stories, at least not well. He very much reminds me of a Malice Darkblade, where instead of becoming a good person as the story goes along, he becomes a more capable person, a more conniving person, a more skilled person, a more successful person. And I want more. GW, if there's anyone in GW, a rogue intern, a black library writer, one of the fucking investors, I don't care. Give me a damnable sequel to this book. Give me more Lyrian Soul Taker of Bryandar, of the Green Gulch. High King of the motherfucking Green Gulch. I need more. I need it. I need it. Anyway, if you got into this part of the video, I did the kind of jokey shill at the beginning, but thank you very much. Make sure to hit that hit that like button, hit that subscription button, hit the notification bell, leave a comment down below, join the conversation today for a better tomorrow. I have been the Shadow of the Hawk, and thank you all so much for all of this. Have a good day. See you next time. Peace.